Hey folks, remember when the YouTube inbox existed? It's been almost 7 years since Lytron asked me this question. Ugh, man, that makes me feel old. Is it anyone around dropping that kiddo moniker? Maybe I should be like Oldo or Senioro or Geezero? Never mind, let's focus on the subject matter. So anyway, 7 years later, Conn uploads video of BS Ihatovo Monogatari. Okay. Now, before we go any further, I would like to advise anyone watching this to avoid making the same mistake I did and actually check out the original retail version of this game before going into the Satellablog version any further. There is a really good write-up on this version by Hardcore Gaming 101, and you can go buy it on eBay for... Oh, come on, seriously? 85 bucks? Screw that! Anyway... Using various methods, you may also apply this fan translation, or you could just watch other people play said fan translation on YouTube. To keep this video as short as possible, I am going to assume that you have already done this. Anyway, flash forward a bit to April 24th, and sanmaiwashi uploads this to his YouTube and his Twitter. By the way, subscribe to his YouTube. These are images and videos from the ROM dump of the second episode of BS Ihatovo Monogatari. And a while later, it has been shared with the intention of a public release. But of course, I spent a bit dissecting the ROM before I did that. BS Ihatovo Monogatari is based off the Super Famicom game Ihatovo Monogatari, which I probably just made the pronunciation of. Each episode of BS Ihatovo contained 2 chapters from the Super Famicom game. They are, however, numbered a bit differently. You see, the BS version kinda cut the first chapter, moved a few parts of it into other sections of the game, and renumbered the chapters accordingly. As such, episode 2, which would have chapters 3 and 4, would correspond to chapters 4 and 5 of the Super Famicom version. The gameplay seems to be the same as the Super Famicom version, except that the story progresses based on the game clock, rather than any action you take. As such, in each section of the game, it seems like you have a limited amount of time to do things before the story forces the progression along. Based on what I see in Con's videos, it seems that if you accomplish certain objectives in those short time frames you're given to do some actions, you'll unlock some new CG art. Somehow, though, I feel like this is difficult to accomplish if you don't already know what you're doing before you actually do it, partly because the player character moves slow as molasses. Most of the script seems to be the same as the Super Famicom game, but it does appear like there's some new text segments. For example, at the end of each chapter, when the player character receives a book, it is immediately read out and the script is written. There is also minor script changes to accommodate the time-based progression. Also, you could go in the movie theater. I'm pretty certain you couldn't do that early in the retail game. How strange. All in all, though, it's generally similar to the Super Famicom game. Both BS Ihatovo and the retail game have a 1MB file size. I wonder if I can find the data for the entire BS Ihatovo series in this single ROM. Let's go check this in a tile editor. So here's that rabbit. I think he appeared in episode 4 in this one. Those elephants would be used in episode 3. Here's that Galactic Railroad from episode 4, and this is... Wait, what? B-Z-Ru-Da? Ah! A lot of information downloaded from the Satellablog was temporarily stored in the BSX cartridge's PS RAM. As soon as something new was downloaded or when the power went off, the PS RAM was wiped clean. Anything that would have been stored on there would be lost forever. If you're a fan of BS Zelda, you probably already know how much the game has suffered from this. For Sekiban in particular, this temporary storage area held the indoor dungeon maps, the opening cutscene, and the title screen. A lot of passion has been put into fan restorations of this material, but needless to say, nothing would quite beat having the real thing. So imagine my shock when I found this.
Bullshit!
Okay, actually I'm lying. I already knew to look for it. For the broadcast of BS Ihatovo, a BS Zelda Inishie no Sekiban ad played. And I already knew it was possible to receive a memory pack dump with advertisements in it because of some Excitebike dumps that we obtained before. So I actually went into Tile Editor specifically to hunt this down. The actual issue was, how do I access it? I replayed this countless times, seeing if there was some kind of trigger to make the advertisement appear when it was supposed to. But after many failed attempts, I gave up and tried asking for some outside help. In fact, I asked the one person who'd probably be the most annoyed with me asking him for things. Conn, from the BS Zelda homepage. I have every reason to think he was rolling his eyes at me at first. But nevertheless, he was interested in the potentially lost piece of BS Zelda media. And ultimately, thanks to his help, we now have a crude hack to activate the advertisement. Thank goodness Adblock did not exist back then, huh? BS Ihatovo played through March 1997. The second episode played on the 9th through the 14th. The music for BS Ihatovo is pulled straight from the Arrange soundtrack. VGM Database documented 2 releases of this. I personally obtained the second release because it has more tracks. I will have to give my props to this soundtrack. It sounds great, and it must be popular even outside the game itself. This game's soundtrack is going to have a concert performance in August. I wonder how that's going to turn out. I wish I could go. In Satellablog, BS Ihatovo's event plaza looks particularly trashed. Since my first attempt at recreating the event plaza did not have Cocoon-kun's videos as reference, it kinda ended up looking inaccurate as a result. It's probably gonna be a bit before I can fix that. The newly recovered BS Zelda graphics are gonna be on the BS Zelda homepage and used in future ROM hacking projects. I will have to note that because of the nature of it being from an advertisement and a few other smaller details, it is not quite one-to-one with the title screen from the Satellablog broadcast. But, you know, we'll take what we can get. And finally, feel free to ask me any further questions in the comments, because I kinda tried to cram a lot into 8 minutes here, and it's going overtime anyway. Whew!